on News Hour tonight. Dangote petitions ICPC over alleged corruption by NMDPRA boss. 14-year-old girl dies, woman gives birth in terrorist den in Niger State. Kano fights rising drug abuse cases. And away from Nigeria, Sierra Leone ends Mpox outbreak. Hello, good evening and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I am Dorcas Yakubuzala. The chairman of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has formally submitted a petition against the managing director of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Ahmed Farouk, to the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, accusing him of corruption and financial impropriety. The petition submitted on December 16th through Dangote's lawyer, James Onoja, SAN, demands the arrest, investigation and prosecution of Ahmed for allegedly living beyond his means as a public servant. The petition was received by the office of ICPC Chairman Musa Adamu Aliyu. Dangote specifically alleged that the NMDPRA boss spent over $7 million on the education of his 4 children in Switzerland over 6 years without lawful means of income. The petition listed the children, their schools, and the amounts paid for each to substantiate the claims.
We are here to submit a petition, a formal petition against, on behalf of our clients, Dangote Refineries and Petrochemicals, against Engineer Farouk Ahmed, the CEO of Downstream Midstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency, the Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency, over his excesses that we believe was he's benefiting unduly from the public office he holds against Section 19 of the ICPC Act. And in the circumstance, we have no choice than to formally present a petition against him. We have evidence. The petition has already been submitted and acknowledged by the ICPC. You can see it from here. Now, we attach evidence of monies that are being expended as school fees for his children in excess of $7 million annually. And we wonder, a civil servant in Nigeria, where he gets that kind of money to pay school fees alone and other logistics on behalf of his children. So we have the right as taxpayers, our client has the right as a taxpayer to present this petition against these excesses of a public officer.
Meanwhile, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has announced that it will commence an immediate investigation into allegations of corruption against Farouk Ahmed, the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA. The anti-graft agency confirmed receipt of the petition submitted by the president of Dangote Industries Limited, Aliko Dangote, against Ahmed. The commission spokesman, John Ode, stated that the petition will be thoroughly investigated. Now joining us via Zoom to discuss on the corruption allegation is Sunday Amos, an anti-corruption campaigner. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
All right. Dangote has taken a further step by petitioning the ICPC. What do you make of this move?
Well, it's a very welcome development. It's a sad development. It's not a surprising development because we know that a lot of this sleaze is going on in our various agencies. It's a good thing that these things are coming into public domain. There is no smoke without a fire. We know that perhaps Dangote's interest in trying to expose this corruption may have arisen as a result of the initial cannon that was fired by Ahmed Farouk himself, trying to make sure that he messes up Dangote's business. Whatever the case, we are happy that the corruption is being exposed, and I hope that ICPC will do a very thorough work so that whoever it is that is found guilty faces the full wrath of the law.
Some have raised concerns about why Dangote appears to be taking his grievances personal. Do you share this view?
Well, whether it is personal or it is not personal, it is a welcome development. One thing you can say in favor of Dangote is that he's not a flimsy person. He's not a noise maker. You don't hear him shouting his mouth off anyhow. So for Dangote to come out himself and make these allegations and go ahead to formalize the allegations to ICPC, there must be strong evidence. There must be a strong case. There must be facts on the ground. So whether it is personal, it is not personal, the thing is that where is Ahmed getting his money to fund the tuition of his children, the education of his children? To those excesses, you pay upfront of 6 years in dollars. How much is his emoluments for the whole year? So whatever the reason, we are happy that the exposure is on, and we hope that the whole truth will be exposed out of it all.
So do you believe this government is taking comprehensive and decisive steps to combat corruption in the oil sector?
My answer is capital no. Not just the oil sector. There is no sector that this government is serious about fighting corruption. No sector. And that is why we continue to have such cases. And I am just praying that more and more of such cases will be exposed. One thing you can say is that Ahmed Farouk will not be enjoying this level of corruption alone in that regulatory agency. People like Ahmed Farouk will not be chopping alone. So it will be a mistake for ICPC to investigate Ahmed Farouk alone. He is just the tip of the iceberg. He is a representation of a dirty deal that is going on in that regulatory agency. It is not possible for him to be stealing these humongous amounts of money alone in that particular regulatory agency. So I am thinking that ICPC needs to go deeper to find out everybody that is involved in this list to make sure they bring them to book.
All right. Sunday Amos, anti-corruption campaigner, thank you for joining us tonight and sharing your insight.
It's a pleasure. Good evening.
Moving on to more stories. A 14-year-old girl, Ummi, from Ibeto town, in Magama local government area of Niger State, has died from an undisclosed ailment after spending over 2 months in the captivity of terrorists. Ummi was kidnapped alongside 16 others on October 1st, 2025, when terrorists stormed Ibeto town in large numbers. Daily Trust gathered that another abductee, Safina Arma, gave birth to a baby boy in captivity. Safina was reportedly heavily pregnant at the time she was kidnapped during the attack on the town. Sources said the news of Ummi's death and Safina's childbirth was broken to their families on Monday, December 15, 2025. At least 4 people were killed while 9 others were injured during the attack, which occurred in broad daylight on October 1st, 2025. Confirming the development, Zachary Adamu Kontogura, a journalist based in Kontogura, said Ummi, whose age was between 13 and 14 years, died due to illness. Kontogura added that the victims have spent nearly 100 days in captivity since they were abducted, with no assurance yet of their rescue. Now joining us via phone call to give more updates on the Niger insecurity is our correspondent, Abubakar Akote. Good evening, Abubakar.
Good evening.
This is a deeply sad development. What more do we know about the circumstances surrounding the death of the child while in captivity?
Some people have attributed the death of the young girl to an undisclosed element, though some have the belief that it might be due to hunger or lack of access to adequate food, and also the weather in which we live now, which is Harmattan period. Some of them might not have adequate shield or shelter to comfortably live in, which might have triggered such elements.
All right. So has the police released any official statement on the matter?
The police is yet to release any official statement. As a matter of fact, since the incident happened, police family said police and authorities have not taken any serious measure, even though the spokesperson for Nigeria State Police Command recently told me that efforts were being made by joint security forces comprising the police, the military, and vigilante to ensure that all the residents of the state that are in captivity are rescued.
We do pray and hope for the safe return of those still in captivity. Thank you, Abubakar Akote, for joining us and for giving us the update.
Thank you.
In other news, the Adamawa state government has pledged to establish a judicial panel of inquiry to investigate the December 8th shooting incident in Lamurde, a local government area that claimed the lives of 10 women and an 11-year-old girl, allegedly involving personnel of the Nigerian military. Governor Ahmadu Umar Fintiri made the promise during a visit to the affected communities in Lamurde, assuring residents of a transparent and impartial investigation aimed at uncovering the root causes of the crisis and ensuring justice for the victims. Trust TV's Gibson Sawadigo completes the report.
As the governor arrived, Lamurde stood still. Grieving women wailed openly. Children stayed in silence, eyes heavily with pain, too deep for words. The air was thick with sorrow, anger, and a longing for answers. With trembling voices and tear-stained faces, community members recounted the horror of that day, pleading with the government to act decisively, not only to bring justice to the dead, but to protect the living.
These very people that shoot at these innocent women, unarmed women, they should please face the full wrath of the law. Because these women did not do anything. The crisis was not happening here. For them to say that they saw the women with arms or anything, it was happening right there at Rigange and Wadu.
Deeply moved by the testimonies, Governor Fintiri, accompanied by members of the State Executive Council and top security commanders, appealed for calm. He assured the people that the state remains committed to due process, accountability, and the sanctity of human life.
Engaging with the youth of these two communities, we've been engaging with the elders, we've involved clergies and Christian leaders to come and engage with them. Still yet, it hasn't taken us to where we want, but that does not mean we have rested.
The governor also toured the affected areas, inspecting the scale of destruction from the communal clashes that spread across 5 communities in Swa district. He promised increased security presence and emphasized that peace cannot be enforced by force alone, but sustained through justice and dialogue.
We'll do all we can within the government limited resources to continue to cater for them, even in bad situations like this.
For the people of Lamurde, the pain remains fresh as the scars of burned structures continue to stir painful memories. Gibson So Adugo, Trust TV News, Yola.
Now, troops of the Joint Task Force Operation Enduring Peace have killed a suspected kidnapper and arrested 3 alleged informants during an operation in Jos North local government area of Plateau State. The media information officer of the task force, Major Samson Zakom, said the operation followed credible intelligence received on December 15th about a kidnapping attempt in Dong community. According to him, troops swiftly responded to the distress call and engaged the suspects, forcing them to flee the area. Major Zakom explained that while retreating, the suspects moved into a neighboring community where they abducted 4 persons, prompting a pursuit by the troops. He said the chase resulted in a firefight, during which one kidnapper was neutralized. Items recovered from the suspect include one AK-47 rifle, a magazine, and 4 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition. The military also arrested 3 suspected informants accused of aiding the kidnappers. Zacom said efforts are ongoing to rescue the abducted victims and track down other members of the criminal network. The Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) has condemned the Inspector General of Police for enforcing the tinted glass permit policy, describing the action as irresponsible and vowing that it will be resisted. The NBA argued that the policy lacks legal backing and represents an overreach of police authority. The association urged the police to concentrate on pressing security challenges rather than targeting citizens over minor regulatory issues. But in a swift reaction to the NBA's growls, the force spokesman, Benjamin Hundayin, insisted that no court ordered the police not to commence the enforcement of the tinted glass permit nationwide.
If it is a crime-fighting measure by the police or policy by the police, and not a money revenue-making one as we contend it is, and as it is indeed, why can't this data be obtained at the point of renewal of your vehicle particulars, which involves the police, the customs, the state security service, and the licensing authority? Why is the IG so interested in compelling members of the public to pay money into a private account? And there's a lot of opacity. How did they arrive at the amount being paid? How is this money being spent and shared? If it is for public purposes, why is it not being paid into federal government account through a TSA account? And we think that Nigerians should rise up to condemn this. The police should focus on protecting the lives of the people, not making off their back. The people are already suffering. But above all, as a professional association whose motto is promoting the rule of law, we think that they have action by the police under the IGP, Inspector General of Police, Ebetoku, flies in the face of judicial proceedings involving the police. It does not matter whether there's an injunction or not. The police ought to await that outcome, to which they are represented by a counsel, and they are represented by a senior advocate who gave court.
Suspected terrorists have struck again in Kwara State, killing 2 residents in Ifelodun local government area, further heightening concerns over the deteriorating security situation in the state. A source said the attack occurred along the road linking the Babanla and Ureke communities. According to the source, the victims were on an errand to purchase food for members of their community when they were ambushed and killed by the assailants. A video from the scene showed 2 lifeless bodies lying in pools of blood. The footage also captured local vigilantes and officers of the Nigeria Police Force inspecting the bodies and securing the area. Kwara State has in recent months recorded a surge in terrorist attacks and kidnappings, particularly in rural communities, raising serious concerns among residents about the capacity of security agencies to protect lives and property. Despite repeated assurances from authorities, residents say fear now dominates daily life as attacks continue unabated in parts of the state. Unknown gunmen operating in a tricycle have kidnapped a 2-month-old child in Warri, Delta State. The incident occurred on Monday at around 4 p.m. along the NNPC bypass near Delta Carriers College, Warri, when Rita Ogale, the mother of the infant, was traveling with her 2 children in a tricycle. According to Ogale, the male passenger pulled out a gun and demanded her 2-month-old baby. Ogale said the man then pushed her and the other child out of the tricycle and took the baby along with her phone number. The matter has been reported to the police, and Ogale is appealing to anyone with information that can help recover her child to contact the nearest police station. Cucumber and tomato farmers in Bauchi State have decried the rising cost of fertilizer, describing it as a major setback to dry season irrigation farming. Trust TV's Adamu Imam reports on how farmers are coping with the challenge. The report.
Dry season farming is widely regarded as capital intensive, largely due to uncertainties that can either result in high profit or significant losses. This year, cucumber farmers in Farouk community, Ganjua local government area of Bauchi state, say the high cost of fertilizer combined with the sudden crash in prices of perishable produce has made their expectations unpredictable. Honestly, our marketers, especially the middlemen, buy our produce at very low prices and then sell it much higher at the perishable goods market in Jos. We are not happy about this. A sack now sells for between 3,000–4,000 naira, unlike before when we sold for up to 20,000 naira per bag. The major problem is the high cost of fertilizer, which is not favorable to us at all. The price of cucumber has crashed, although that is the nature of perishable produce. Another issue is that farmers rush to maximize profit instead of using proper cultivation methods. Because these crops are seasonal, this has become one of the major challenges we face. Our prayer is for government support. Irrigation farming requires a lot of capital. In some cases, the market is not favorable, and with the rising cost of fertilizer, many farmers have already given up, even though this is our major occupation. Meanwhile, an agricultural expert says many farmers are not fully taking advantage of market opportunities that could help reduce risk.
To know who is going to buy your own output and at what time does that person need that output. That is one of the major things. Then now you organize yourself in that particular area you are planting. Organize yourself in the sense that, okay, let's say this group of people should plant their own in 2 weeks. Then after the next 2 weeks, others will plant. After the next 2 weeks, others will plant. So that when this output is coming, you find out when this one has arrived, this one started fruiting, and the other one is setting flowers, etc. That's why what will prevent the growth in the market. So therefore, you can find out that it will not be too much. The market will not be choked.
Although reports indicate that Federal Ministry of Agriculture has rolled out plans aimed at easing farmers' burdens through grants and palliative support. Adamu Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Now in a major diplomatic move, the Nigerian Senate has confirmed the nominations of Lateef Are, Aminu Dalhatu and Emmanuel Oke as non-career ambassadors. Their confirmation followed the presentation of a report by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs, Senator Sani Bello. The report.
According to the committee chairman, the nominees, who hail from Ogun, Jigawa and Oyo states, respectively, met all the requirements during their screening.
The committee therefore recommends as follows. 1. That the Senate do confirm the nomination of Lateef Kayode Kolawole Are as appointment as a non-career ambassador of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. 2. That the Senate do confirm the nomination of Aminu Muhammad Dalhatu for appointment as non-career ambassador of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And finally, that the Senate do confirm the nomination of Emmanuel Ayodele Oke, CFR, for appointment as non-career ambassador of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We so move.
Are, Dalhatu, and Oke were the first 3 nominees forwarded to the Senate by President Bola Tinubu for confirmation. Meanwhile, 65 other nominees have been screened by the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs and are awaiting confirmation. In related developments, the Senate also confirmed Dr. Chukwuemeka J. Chukwu as the resident electoral commissioner for Abia State at the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
Members were unanimously satisfied with the nominee, considering his wealth of experience, exposure, performance, qualification, competence and integrity as guided by the Constitution, and found him suitable for reappointment as Resident Electoral Commissioner. And so the recommendation, after carefully scrutinizing all the relevant documents of the nominee and due consideration of his level of exposure, experiences, performances, qualification, and integrity, this committee hereby recommends as follows, quote, that the Senate do confirm the nomination of Dr. Chukwuemeka J. Chukwu as Resident Electoral Commissioner, REC.
The nomination of Dr. Chukwuemeka J. Chukwu, representing Abia State, is hereby confirmed as Resident Electoral Commissioner, INEC, in the Independent National Electoral Commission. The nomination of Dr. Chukwuemeka J. Chukwu is hereby confirmed as Resident Electoral Commissioner, REC, in the Independent National Electoral Commission.
The Red Chamber further confirmed Aisha Mahmood Kanti Bello and Dr. Animashan Fuad Olayinka as commissioners of the National Electricity Regulatory Commission.
And lawmakers at the House of Representatives on Tuesday turned their attention to several pressing national concerns, beginning proceedings with a closed-door executive session at the start of the week's plenary. When the House reconvened, resolutions were adopted on aviation safety, infrastructure deficits, and the country's electoral framework, setting the tone for what lawmakers described as a critical legislative sitting. The report.
The House went into an executive session lasting about 42 minutes shortly after convening. Upon reconvening, lawmakers adopted a motion of urgent public importance on the precautionary landing of a Nigerian Air Force C-130 aircraft in Burkina Faso. The House was informed that the aircraft, which was on an authorized ferry flight to Portugal for routine maintenance, made a safety-driven landing in Burkina Faso on December 8, 2025, in line with international aviation standards. Lawmakers emphasized that the aircraft was neither on an operational nor intelligence mission, adding that there was no verified evidence of interception or airspace violation. Concern was, however, raised over the spread of misinformation surrounding the incident, with lawmakers warning that false narratives could undermine Nigeria's diplomatic relations and public confidence in national institutions. As a follow-up, the House mandated relevant committees to engage appropriate ministries and agencies and report back within 2 weeks, while urging the federal government to leverage bilateral relations, ECOWAS and African Union framework to resolve the matter.
The speed and the spread of false narrative has the potential to undermine Nigeria's diplomatic standing, strain regional relations, and erode public confidence in national institutions. The House is concerned that prolonged uncertainty surrounding the aircraft and its personnel could negatively affect national morale, civil-military confidence, and Nigeria's image within the sub-region. Swift, coordinated, and transparent action is necessary.
It's extremely important that we also work with the other ECOWAS partners, ECOWAS countries, to make sure that the political space, the civic space within the region discourages coups that may be fermenting across the region.
We need to also look in the direction of retooling our foreign service, our diplomatic channels, particularly our diplomatic structure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that we have more professional touch in our diplomatic engagements. This is more so that it will help us, it will avoid second-guessing while we are handling such very intricate diplomatic issues.
The House also adopted a motion drawing attention to the deplorable condition of the Abuja-Lokoja highway. Lawmakers called for urgent intervention to address safety concerns and improve economic activities along the busy corridor.
Concerned that the deplorable conditions of the road has led to incessant accidents, loss of life, and destructions of goods and vehicle prolonged traffic gridlock, and also heightening the insecurity in stranded commuters often fall victim to armed robbery and kidnappers along the roads. Further concern that the slow pace of ongoing rehabilitation work by the Federal Ministry of Works has compounded the suffering of motorists, with some sections virtually impassable during the rainy season.
Meanwhile, consideration of a bill seeking to repeal the Electoral Act 2022 and enact a new electoral bill was stepped down. This followed a request by the House Committee on Electoral Matters for additional time to conduct wider consultations. Presiding over the session, the Deputy Speaker explained that time constraint necessitated the decision. He announced that the next plenary sitting would be dedicated exclusively to deliberations on the Electoral Act, with petitions and motions of urgent public importance suspended. Constitutional amendment work may also begin if time allows.
So I want to move that we'll take the bill tomorrow. I'll step it down and take it tomorrow as
Thank you.
For the convenience of the House.
We're going to suspend petitions, urgent public importance, motions and notice, and go straight to the Electoral Act. When we finish Electoral Act and we have time, we might commence the Constitution and round up on Thursday. Okay, carried? Carried?
The House adjourned with assurances that priority legislative matters would receive focused attention in the coming sittings.
The Senate on Tuesday directed the Office of the National Security Advisor to investigate and identify those behind the spread of false reports alleging the deaths of Senate President Godswill Akpabio and former Head of State General Yakubu Gowon. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion raised during plenary by Senator Titus Zam, who expressed concern over what he described as a disturbing rise in misinformation and fake news circulating on social media platforms. Moving the motion, Zam lamented that social media had recently been flooded with reports claiming that Akpabio had died in a London hospital, even though the Senate President was alive, well, and presiding over plenary sessions at the National Assembly.
I wish to draw the attention of the Senate to a recent social media reportage that alluded to the fact that Mr. Senate President, I wish to draw the attention of the Senate to a recent social media reportage that alluded to the fact that Mr. Senate President is dead. What is in London? That you are dead in the London hospital. Your person and your office needs to be investigated. Because it's not only you that was reported in this negative manner. The former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, was equally reported a few days ago to have died. This is not a good report about the leaders of our country. And there is the urgent need for us to put machinery in order to not just investigate, but to punish the promoters of such negative news about the leaders of this country. When sanctions are meted out against the promoters of such negative report about our leaders, it will serve as a deterrent to anybody who engages in such an infamous and dangerous act against the leadership of our democracy and our country. You have to know it's not only politicians that they make these reports about. somebody was telling me that they showed a burial ceremony of a business tycoon when the person is not dead. And they also said the former head of state, General Gowan, is dead when he was alive, attending the last Christmas carol. And I don't know. I think all we can do is to, is it the view of the Senate that this matter be referred to the National Security Advisor, the DSS, to investigate? Those in support say aye, those against say nay. That is it. I think that's all we can do. You can't stop people from writing. You know, the internet is garbage in, garbage out.
This is News Hour on Trust TV, coming up after the break. We'll take a look at how Kano is fighting rising drug abuse cases. This and many more when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back from the break. In case you just joined in, this is News Hour on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. We told you that Dangote petitions ICPC over alleged corruption by NMDPRA boss.
Drug use among young men and women often triggers domestic violence.
Woman gives birth in terrorist den in Niger State. Now moving on to more stories, drug use among young people and women often triggers domestic violence and fuels street-level criminality. In response, the state government, religious institutions, and civil society groups are intensifying awareness campaigns focused on prevention and early intervention. The report.
Drug use among young men and women often triggers domestic violence and fuels street-level criminality. In response, the state government, religious institutions, and civil society groups are intensifying awareness campaigns focused on prevention and early intervention. The Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, believes community-based strategies are key to reducing the demand for drugs.
We must remind ourselves that our forefathers built systems of accountability, moral upbringing, mentorship, and communal responsibility. In those days, every child belonged to the entire community. Every elder was a moral compass. Every palace, mosque, and family compound served as a center for discipline, wisdom, and rehabilitation. We must bring back those values, not as relics of the past, but as tools for building a safer, healthier, and more resilient Kano.
The role of the media is not left out, as veteran Kannywood practitioner Sani Musa Danja highlights the importance of using film and entertainment to educate young people and discourage drug abuse.
Going further, we still use celebrities, people that are role models. They should come out, they should talk to the youth, they should talk to the people. They should show in so many different places, using skits, using movies, using a lot of ways to tackle, because sometimes those youth don't listen to other means apart from role models. They are always on their social media, their Facebook, their Instagram, their TikTok, and whatever. So you attack them wherever they go.
While enforcement efforts continue, experts insist that prevention and rehabilitation must go hand in hand. For many young people in Kano, the fight against drug abuse is ultimately a fight for their future. Abdulaziz Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Kano.
And the federal government has directed an immediate suspension of all enforcement actions relating to the proposed ban on sachet alcohol and 200 milliliter PET bottle products pending the conclusion of consultations and the issuance of a final policy directive. A directive was issued by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation following concerns raised by the House of Representatives Committee on Food and Drugs Administration and Control. In a statement released by Terence Kwanum, Special Advisor on Public Affairs to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, The Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation confirmed receipt of an official correspondence from the House Committee dated November 13, 2025. According to the office, the issues raised in the correspondence are currently under review in line with its statutory role as chairman of the Cabinet Secretariat and the coordinating authority for government policy implementation. The office assured Nigerians that it is conducting a comprehensive review of all relevant considerations, including legislative resolutions, public health concerns, economic implications, and the broader national interest to arrive at a balanced and lawful outcome. As the world marks Universal Health Coverage Week, health experts in Nigeria say the country is still far from achieving the goal of ensuring access to quality health care for all without financial hardship. Habibat Ajayi completes the report.
Although Nigeria has adopted universal health coverage as a national priority, millions of citizens continue to face barriers in accessing basic health services, particularly in rural and underserved communities. High out-of-pocket payments remain common, pushing many households into poverty whenever illness strikes. Despite these setbacks, the country has developed a framework to deliver UHC through a primary healthcare lead system, supported by general hospital and tertiary facilities for specialized care. Experts attribute Nigeria's slow progress to systemic challenges such as poor health financing, inadequate infrastructure, and a shortage of skilled media personnel.
We know that healthcare is very expensive globally, and and universal health coverage is like a solution. It's a solution to ensure that people, irrespective of your socioeconomic status, you're able to access care, and even in emergency situations too. So if a form of sensitization and orientation is also done in all those, areas, and it's going to help, and also the various organizations and parastatals that are brought on board, the stakeholders to, everybody coming on board to ensure that it works, and proper enlightenment and also education of people about what it involves, because people have a lot of what I would call shallow or limited knowledge about health insurance and what it's supposed to do.
The truth is, if you go to most of the hospitals, you find out that a lot of people are passing through a lot of difficulties trying to finance their health challenges. A lot of people cannot even afford to be in the hospital because they don't even have. But this thing is supposed to be free for people, but it's not even going. People are not even finding it easy. So you find out that most people that are living well, in fact, some people, based on distance, some people are even traveling out to have their health stuff doing outside the country, because they find out that things that are supposed to be doing here, they are not doing it. So if things are working here, I don't think some people will be traveling out to be taking the medical stuff.
I don't think the healthcare coverage is meeting the needs of Nigerians, because looking at the budget as a whole, what is the provision for healthcare? If you ask me, I don't think that is adequate enough. Where are the infrastructures? You run to the hospital in the middle of the night, you are told stories, police report, that report. I mean, even when people's life is at stake. No.
I cannot say much about it, because how Nigeria is moving, everybody knows. But we thank God for life.
Stakeholders marking this year's UHC week say Nigerians must move beyond policy declarations and focus on building a functional, equitable, and sustainable health system that truly serves all citizens. Habibat Ajayi, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The African Democratic Congress ADC has described the Supreme Court judgment affirming the president's power to suspend elected governors and state assemblies during a state of emergency as a dangerous turning point for Nigeria's democracy. In a statement issued on Tuesday, ADC National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi warned that the ruling could undermine constitutional governance, federalism, and the will of the electorate. The judgment delivered on Monday arose from a suit filed in April by governors elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), who challenged the legality of President Bola Tinubu's decision to suspend the governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, and members of the Rivers State House of Assembly amid a prolonged political crisis in the state. Following the suspension, the president appointed a retired naval officer, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Bas, retired, as sole administrator of Rivers State for a 6-month period, effectively placing the state under federal control in the absence of its elected leadership. At the time the emergency measures were imposed, Governor Fubara was a member of the PDP. The action prompted PDP governors across the country to approach the courts, arguing that the federal government's intervention violated constitutional provisions and eroded the autonomy of elected state governments. Reacting to the ruling, the ADC warned that the judgment concentrates excessive power, in the hands of the president and poses a serious threat to Nigeria's democratic framework. The All Progressives Congress (APC) has won all 27 local government chairmanship positions in the recently conducted local government elections in Borno State. The Borno State Independent Electoral Commission announced the results after collating returns from the 27 local government returning officers at its headquarters in Maiduguri. Chairman of the commission, Ahiru Shatima, while declaring the winners, described the elections as peaceful, inclusive, transparent, and fair. He stated that opposition parties were not denied participation in the process despite their decision to withdraw from the polls. Shatima urged the newly elected chairman to ensure good governance, provide basic amenities, and promote inclusive leadership at the grassroots level. He also added that results for the councillorship elections will be announced at a later date.
While trying to carry out our responsibilities, I want to reiterate once again that we have never, ever shortchanged any political party. Neither we did not create any roadblock to any political party that is interested in contesting. After a lot of publicity, after a lot of meetings and what have you, only 6 political parties that participated in this election. So I would like to urge other political parties. It is only when you test the soup that you will know whether the soup is sweet or sour or not sweet. They should have come forward to participate before they make a generalized statement. But for not participating and you make a general statement, I think that is not fair and that is not in conformity with election procedure across the globe. What we have done is surely going to deepen democracy and the grassroots. And that I urge the elected chairman to be focused and to show determination.
And now in business, Nigeria earned about 12.81 trillion naira from crude oil export in the third quarter of this year, according to data from the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). The latest foreign trade and goods statistics released by the Bureau noted that crude oil alone accounted for 56.14% of the country's total export in the third quarter of 2025, signaling a rebound in oil export receipts within the year. Although the value of crude oil exports declined slightly by 4.47% year-on-year from 13.41 trillion naira recorded in the third quarter of 2024, it rose by 7.03% quarter-on-quarter compared with 11.97 trillion naira in the second quarter of 2025. The upward movement underlines the continued centrality of the petroleum sector to foreign exchange earnings. Mineral products, largely driven by crude oil and petroleum gases, were valued at 20.01 trillion naira, accounting for 87.71% of total exports in the third quarter of 2025. Other oil products exports surged to 7.01 trillion naira, in addition to crude oil exports of 12.81 trillion naira, representing a sharp 51.72% increase compared with 4.62 trillion naira in the third quarter of 2024, although this was 9.42% lower than the 7.74 trillion naira recorded in the second quarter of 2025. Now, away from Nigeria, Sierra Leone has declared its Mpox outbreak over, bringing an end to a 2-year public health emergency that recorded more than 5,000 cases and at least 60 deaths across the country. The announcement comes nearly 1 year after authorities first declared an Mpox emergency following the confirmation of 2 cases outside the capital, Freetown. Despite the declaration, many survivors say they continue to face stigma and discrimination, making it difficult for them to rebuild their lives. Even after recovery, Mpox survivors report being rejected by family members, losing their jobs, and struggling to reintegrate into their communities. They attribute this to widespread misinformation, fear, and mistrust of public health messages. One survivor, Nelson Johnson, who recovered from the virus in May, began raising awareness in June through the Sierra Leone Epidemic Action Network in an effort to combat stigma and support fellow survivors. Health experts note that the outbreak was particularly challenging in Sierra Leone due to the rare occurrence of genital lesions among many patients, a factor that fueled stigma and complicated efforts to break the chain of transmission. And now in sports, the 2025 Nigeria Peach Awards nomination categories have taken place in Abuja with 19 categories. Trust TV's Adeni Ajishafe has more.
The 12th edition of Nigerian Peach Award will feature 19 categories of nominees that will slug it out in the various units. The award focuses on heroes and heroines in football. The awards category showcase Goalkeeper of the Year nominees in Kayode Bankole, formerly of Raymond Stars, Maduka Okoye of Udinese FC of Italy, and Stanley Wabali of Chivas United. Defender of the Year have Benjamin Fredericks of Denders, Belgium, Calvin Bassey of Fulham FC, and Olaina of Nottingham Forest. While Midfielder of the Year nominees in Alex Iwobi of Fulham, Franco Yeka of Brentford, Wilfred Ndidi of Besiktas of Turkey, and Rafael Yedika of Club Brugge of Belgium. Strikers of the Year nominees include Ademola Lookman, Anas Yusuf of Nasarawa United, and Victor Osimhen of Galatasaray of Turkey. Team of the Year, Raymond Stars, Rivers United, and the Super Falcons. While the Coach of the Year, featuring Daniel Ogumodede of Raymond Stars, Finidi George of Rivers United, and Super Falcons coach Justin Madugu. Queen of the Peach have Esther Okoronkwo of AFC Toronto, Chiamaka Nadozie of Brighton FC, and Rashidat Ajibade of PSG. As the King of the Peach consists of Ademola Lookman, Calvin Bassey, and Victor Osimhen, among other categories awards involving the media. The Nigerian Football Federation Director of Communications, Ademola Olajire, appreciated the organizers and the media for their efforts in promoting football.
Awards, a major plank of sports development of any sector, because they serve to motivate, to propel, to ginger, all actors in that sector to do better, to run faster, to climb higher, and to put in more effort in whatever they do. I want to thank SIA who been there all along for the long haul, and they've been so wonderful, so consistent, and always ready, when they're needed.
President of Nigerian Peach Award, Shino Phillips, points out the drive behind the award.
The Nigerian Peach Awards is a platform established not only to inspire individual footballers and key stakeholders to higher levels of commitment and professionalism, but also to serve as a catalyst for government and corporate entities to dedicate more resources to the development of sports in Nigeria. The choice of our award categories on this platform is part of our policy to deliberately target and highlight the contributions of individual footballers, coaches, administrators, journalists, government personalities on the one hand, and national, sub-national corporate bodies on the other hand, to the development of sports in general and football in particular, while rewarding hard work and patriotism. The Nigerian Peach Awards platform committedly plays a pivotal role by alerting government and administrators to the need to re-engineer our sports processes, renew our sports infrastructure, and stimulate national interest in developing sports as a viable revenue-generating industry. We see these as our enduring desire.
The Nigerian Peach Awards date will be announced after AFCON 2025. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And that's a wrap on News Hour. Do not forget to follow us across all social media platforms for more programs, news, and documentaries. I am Dorcas Yakubuzala. Thank you for watching and good night.
Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.